Hey, what's up everyone? It's Jack of Many Trades back here again with another video, and today we're going to be taking a look at a product that I've been using every single day since I got it last September, and of course that is going to be the iPhone 14 Pro Max. As I said, I've been using this as my daily driver, and even used it as my primary video camera for this YouTube channel until I recently switched over to the Sony FX3. So just to remind you guys of a couple of the main features of this phone, starting off with the most important spec, the iPhone 14 Pro, which is the small 6.1-inch display version, starts at $999, and the Pro Max starts at $1099 for the 128 gig variant. You can also spec these phones all the way up to 1 terabyte for $1499 and $1599 for the smaller and larger ones respectively. Now, the great thing about this is that these are the same prices that we've been enjoying for the iPhone Pro and Pro Max devices for the past couple of years, which is great that they really haven't increased the price. Definitely a nice thing that Apple's done, although I think it's unfortunate that they don't include the chargers in the box, so that's an additional expense if you don't already have one of the new USB-C ones. But with that being said, there's a couple of other improvements that came. Starting off with the colors, there's a new deep purple, which is the one that I have here. Also, you have gold, silver, and the new space black, which is basically just a darker version of space gray. Some of the highlighting features that are included with this year's iPhone are of course the dynamic island, which is great for if you're ordering on Uber Eats or something like that. You can see the status of your order. Additionally, if you're listening to music, you have that there. So it's a pretty cool feature, not a make or break, but it's nice. And you also have the 48 megapixel main camera, which is quite a bit better as far as clarity than other iPhones. The sensor is quite a bit larger. Overall, just a nicer camera module than we had in the past. Additionally, there's the A16 Bionic chip, which as always is speedy, and the always-on display, action mode, and emergency SOS via satellite, and of course the new eSIM, which for some people may be a con. For me, I like it quite a bit. It simplified the whole process for me getting set up with the iPhone when I got it, but your mileage may vary depending on your carrier. And so as we've come to expect from iPhones year over year, I think that this iPhone is exceptionally stable and reliable, doing anything that you may need to do throughout the day, from taking a photo or video to making calls and using social media. Just like any of the previous flagship iPhones, the battery's also been outstanding. You can get through a whole day comfortably with normal usage, and that is definitely something that's pretty nice. If you are a power user, you may be able to kill it in a full day, and if you're really using your phone a lot, it'll probably last like 3/4 of your day, but that's still pretty good. So, as I had mentioned in my initial review, this is definitely the best iPhone to have been released, but that's not surprising considering that every year the iPhone is supposed to be the best iPhone ever. If it wasn't, there wouldn't really be a point of an upgrade, now would there? But despite these improvements that have come to the iPhone over the last year, like the always-on display, 48 megapixel main camera, the 4 optical zoom options, like the 1x camera, 2x with the pixel binning, 3x telephoto, and the ultra-wide camera, I think that there's also a couple of things that I really don't like so much. And even though I've been a fan of the iPhone for many years now, I gotta call Apple out on their absolutely horrendous handling of one of the best camera systems to ever be implemented in a phone. Especially if you want to use this phone to film videos for a new YouTube channel, or you want to use this as a professional device to make money using it for client work. It is a pretty frustrating process overall. I do all of my editing on a MacBook Pro 16-inch with the M1 Max, which is an extremely powerful system, and it should ideally give me the best experience for transferring from the iPhone to the Mac to get editing as fast as possible. However, unfortunately, transferring files from the iPhone is a little bit annoying, and depending on the size of the videos that you're trying to transfer, a single video could take hours. In general, I think that AirDrop is probably the best way to go about transferring videos, but it can sometimes be a little bit unstable. Sometimes if you go to transfer a video that's very large, say you're filming like a 30-minute video on your iPhone, you go to transfer it to your Mac, it can take upwards of 30 to 40 minutes just to prepare the thing to send, and then sometimes it'll just fail at actually sending. It could be a little bit frustrating, so I'm definitely not really a fan of that. But you may say, okay, well, you can still plug it into the MacBook using a cable. Yes, you can of course do that. However, one of the things that I think is really frustrating about Apple is that they have refused to switch their iPhones over to USB-C. USB-C is ubiquitous. It's on all of the Apple devices, from the iPad to the MacBook. So I don't really understand why they can't do it with the iPhone. According to rumors, we're going to get an iPhone later this year that has a USB-C or at least a Thunderbolt 4 port or something like that, but we don't know yet, so as of right now, this is what we have. We're stuck with Lightning. And to make it worse, Lightning is a USB 2.0 connection, so even if you are connecting with the USB-C to Lightning cable, you're not getting true USB-C speeds. You're still stuck at USB 2.0 speeds. And another thing that really frustrates me about this whole process is that when you plug your iPhone into your MacBook, you need to go into Apple Photos. Then you need to click on your iPhone, go over to the videos that you want to transfer, select them all, click import. Once you do that, then you need to wait a little bit for them to transfer into the MacBook. This can take upwards of 3 to 4 hours if you're talking about like a 30-40 minute video on 4K 24 FPS. With the Moment Camera app's log profile. Really, really annoying because, you know, you're trying to get work done and you're having to wait for an absurd amount of time just to transfer files. On top of that, once you're finished with the transfer, in order to actually work with the file, then you need to transfer the file from Apple Photos to Finder by dragging and dropping it wherever you want to go. And that's really annoying. And it overall just really slows down the workflow and makes it a little bit frustrating for anybody trying to use this for a YouTube channel or for professional work. In my opinion, it really makes the iPhone a pretty poor choice for using for YouTube because you're having this amazing image quality and all of this data coming off of the sensor. It's fantastic. There's more focal lengths than ever. And like I said, the video quality is fantastic. Rolling shutter is pretty much a non-issue. But even with all of this stuff and the fact that they market it as a professional camera system, the file system behind it is extremely outdated. Unfortunately, Apple still has this absurd file system protection that prevents you from actually accessing the photos and videos directly from Finder. You have to go through, like I said, Apple Photos just to get them off. And for professionals, that is something that nobody would ever want to put up with. So I don't understand why Apple can't just open it up a little bit more. I mean, they don't have to do a lot, but, you know, just opening it up a little bit more, I think would make all of the difference. And another thing, too, is that they inhibit this amazing camera with extremely poor software support in their camera app. They've been introducing a lot of pro features like the cinematic mode, which does great focus racking. There's also the action mode, which does great image stabilization. But all of these features are limited by the fact that you can't ever set your white balance using a toggle. You can't ever set your focus using a slider or something like that. You can't set your ISO or your shutter speed. So even though Apple's really made a lot of breakthroughs and improvements to the camera system, they're lacking on a lot of basic things that I think would really enhance the iPhone experience overall. And I know that this review is sounding pretty negative so far, but I still have to say that this is my favorite phone that I've ever used. And as you can tell from some of these photos, the quality of the camera is absolutely outstanding. If you want to know about how the video performs, you can go back and watch some of my earlier videos on this channel, as they were all shot on the primary 48 megapixel camera with some moment lenses to modify the focal lengths and give me a couple of different looks, so that way it didn't look like I was shooting on an iPhone the entire time. So basically, my recommendation is that if the file transfer speeds don't bother you, if you can wait a little bit for your videos to get transferred onto your Mac to edit them, or if you do your editing on an iPad or something like that, or you just really don't care, the camera is pretty fantastic. You get a lot of use out of it, and I think you'll be really genuinely happy. Moving on from the cameras though, The Super Retina XDR display is outstanding with an excellent 2,000,000:1 contrast ratio ProMotion display with up to 120Hz refresh rate and an always-on display that can reduce that refresh rate all the way down to 1 Hz, so that way you save battery, and it doesn't really impact the battery life negatively, which is really great to see. It's definitely something that I was a little bit concerned about when I first started using it, but the battery has been fantastic. And it is something where it seems like a gimmick at first, but it does actually make a difference if you are just sitting on a coffee table or something like that. You can glance at information like your next calendar event, the time, date, weather, battery levels of your devices, things like that, without ever having to pick up your iPhone. So it's definitely something that's pretty nice. And the A16 Bionics chipset also allows the device to fly through any task that you want to accomplish, whether it be playing a game, scrolling on social media, editing a video in iMovie or something like that, playing a game like Call of Duty. The A16 Bionic is extremely smooth. It never really has any issues at all, no stutters. So absolutely a fantastic device overall. And although it's not a new feature by any means, I think one of the best features of the iPhone is that it has one of my favorite features, which is, of course, MagSafe. MagSafe is something that a lot of people sort of just look at as a wireless charging combination with magnets, but it's definitely more than that. I think that MagSafe is pretty great because you have the ability to wirelessly charge your phone with magnetic MagSafe battery chargers, so that way you don't have to worry about cables or other things like that while you're walking around. And another thing that I really love is using mounts like the Moment camera mounts for the iPhone, which are MagSafe as well, so you can connect the iPhone to a tripod. There's also, of course, car mounts and other things that will really help you out if you're like an Uber driver or you just want to have easy access to your phone while you're driving so that you can see your directions. So overall, I stand by my initial review that this is the best iPhone ever made, and if you are a fan of iOS, this will be a fantastic device for you. It will continue to be updated and work fluidly for many years to come, but at the time of this recording, which is July 2023, the iPhone 14 Pro Max has been out for about 10 months, which means that another iPhone is right around the corner, likely going to be released in September, so that's not really too far away. And honestly, I would recommend holding off if you don't need a phone right now, because there's, like I said, going to be a new iPhone coming out, and that iPhone will probably feature USB-C, maybe even some form of Thunderbolt, which would really improve the transfer speeds and the pain points that I've discussed in this video. But with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and got a lot out of it. If you did, please consider subscribing. Also drop a comment down below. Leave a like. What is your daily driver? If you use the iPhone 14 Pro Max, have you experienced any of the issues that I detailed here? I'd love to talk to you guys down below, and I will see you guys in the next video.